Welcome to Created by Design. Today I'm excited. My sister is with us today. This is Donna James. I'm Linda Eld. I seldom ever say my name on our episodes, but for some of you that may not know, I'm Linda. And Donna is my little sister, but she is my older sister. That's always been a standing joke in our family. And that's what happens when you forget to get very tall. So she's the little one in the family. But crafting and creating has always been a big part of your life.
Yes.
And you've done a lot of different things over the years. Today I've asked her to bring a special project, which she's going to tell about in detail. But I had a couple of questions I wanted to ask Donna today because I think it's pertinent to people that are our age. I'm 77 and Donna's 80. And I think that finding our value, finding just expression as we age, what does that look like? How does that change over the years for us? And my specific question is, what part, Donna, does creative art, your craft, play in your life now at the ripe old age of 80?
It really defines my life now because that's what I do. I enjoy doing it. I enjoy making things for others. I enjoy seeing something and thinking, oh, I could do this with it, or I could change it this way and have this. And so that's what it really means to me right now.
Gives you something to keep thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
And with that, how do you keep yourself motivated and challenged then for just growing what you're doing?
Well, I look at a lot of different things. I look at a lot of things on YouTube. I look at magazines. I look at books. And I try a lot of different things. And then I become motivated to use what I tried on a project that I have created.
Yeah. Do you ever make something and just say, oh, that's a failure and I'm going to put it in the garbage can?
Oh, yeah. I think we all do.
Well, I think that's a part of being okay with doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes we think, oh, that's such a waste, but it's that process that we learn from.
Or I take it and cut it apart and use it for something else.
Yeah. That is good. And I think a lot of times people are held back maybe thinking, oh, I can't do that. I might fail. But then you never get stretched and try something new. So Donna's brought a very, very unique project. And we're going to turn the camera actually down so you can see in detail the project that she's brought. I hope you enjoy it. It's very unique and very different actually, but beautiful. So here we go. Okay, Donna, so you developed this project. How did you first get the idea for it?
Well, you forwarded a Pinterest post to me that showed a quilt with crochet and fabric. And I thought, oh, I could do something like that. But then I thought, that's kind of plain. Together, what I thought would be fun to make.
Okay, so let's look at one of those books.
So this book had a picture in it of a hexagon that is actually put together by English paper piecing idea. But I like the idea of creating the hexagon, doing handwork around it, and then putting tidbits basically in the center, and then making them together in a quilt.
Okay, let's get this up here so a good shot can be of the hexagons
and then
kind of put
one
together.
Yeah.
And here is another close-up picture of that. So you made a prototype. Let's look at that. So tell us a little bit about what your process was for just making the prototype.
Okay, so first of all, I had to figure out what size that I was going to use, and I happened to have a template that I had used for another project, and that's what I used. It was a clear plastic that's shaped like this hexagon, and I used that as my size. And so then I thought, okay, I'll take the technique that they used of putting a border around a center and then putting a back on it. And there's some batting in that. And it's small enough that you don't necessarily have to quilt it.
Okay.
And so I then decorated my center here and then put lace in it.
So you've got some lace, you've got some ribbon, you've got little roses.
Yeah, and this was actually a strip complete with that. And that's all I had. So this is a good way to use little bits of trim, lace, whatever. And so then I I did it just on this piece of linen, put it inside, folded the edges over, did the stitching
fancy
around.
Work. Okay.
And then I put the two pieces together, and I used a needle and the crochet thread to do a buttonhole stitch or a blanket stitch all the way around the outside. And I had to really be careful so that I had equal number of stitches on all sides, or it would not fit together when I made the full quilt.
Okay, so you've got several things going here. You've got some quilting techniques, you've got fancy stitches, you've got crochet. You've actually, coming up with some of these pieces here, you could go to Goodwill or take other pieces of, from something else apart, like you said, using little scrap pieces. So there's a lot of different techniques involved with this. Let's look at one that you've got in different stages now. So at this stage, you've marked the edges here. I see little dots along here. How did you get those, and what did you do to get that accomplished?
I used some material called tiger tape, and it looks like this.
Okay.
And I determined that this was the right distance.
Do they have this in different distances?
Yes,
okay.
It is. This happens to be 1/4 inch wide, and it is marked at 12 per inch.
Okay.
And then I made a template like this.
Okay.
And I ended up just not laying the whole template on, but just using one side so that I always got the same number of stitches.
Let's go back to that piece there. So if one was to line it up this way.
Yes, and I used every other line.
Okay.
As my spacing.
Okay. So then what did you use to mark this fabric with?
I used a friction pen. And this kind of a pen, and it's erasable. It's also will iron away. However, if you put it in the freezer, the marks will come back. But if you wash it, it will permanently wash it
Wash
away.
out. So don't put your project in the freezer.
No.
Okay.
No.
So then you use this to mark with, and you can actually get some pretty good marking there. I mean, so you can make it as whatever size you need it to be to see.
Right.
Okay. And so then once you get this done, what's your next step after that?
Once I mark it, then I would take the needle and the crochet thread, and I wouldn't cut it necessarily. I would keep it long enough to go all the way around, finish off, and then you could use your tail end to begin your crochet.
Okay.
If you allowed enough.
Right. So I'm going to hold this up real close so you can see her her little markings along there. And what she's talking about doing is these little stitches right here, what the crochet is actually being crocheted into. So she establishes that little crocheted, what did the stitch that you...
Buttonhole or blanket stitch.
You can see it better here on the back side maybe. So she goes all around that piece, making the buttonhole, let's call it that, stitch. And then that's getting that edge on there. But before you get to this, show us how you put the two together.
This is another one that I used an embroidery idea with beads and silk ribbon and embroidery thread. And then I attached this piece around here with a, I can't think of the name of that stitch, but we can look it up.
So this is, the top is completely finished before you attach it to the back. So her little clips here just show the two pieces coming together. And on the back, you have a little batting in there. It's very thin, but it's enough to give that piece some body to it. So once you got this clipped together like this,
then I take a needle and regular thread and whip stitch around here so that you don't see the stitching.
Before you do this.
Before I mark it.
Okay, okay.
Because you can see this one is
attached.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that makes for a blanket or a throw, it makes it very secure.
It does.
So this is the front side. Show us some the backs, pieces that you've got a little.
You can see different backs.
So the back takes on another whole look from the front side, which isn't this fun? Bright colors. On the front side, you have a little bit softer, more pastel colors. And on the back, you've got these fun, bright colors. That's really cool. So let's...
then you can see how this was folded together. This is the linen that I put inside. And I cut it smaller. Then I folded the edges over and all the way around.
So how did you know how to make this piece the size for the hexagon? How did you get to that?
You took this hexagon.
Okay.
And then I had a cardboard one that was, or card stock, and it was this size.
Okay.
And I laid it on my piece that I had cut out and ironed the edges over. Ironed all the way around, folded.
What is this, about an inch, this
it's a
overhang? Less?
It's about 3/4 of an inch. And then I folded it and folded it.
And did a lot of ironing. Okay.
But I decorated this inside piece so that edges like this could be secured under the fabric.
Okay.
If you wait and decorate it after you've been put it together, then it limits you on what you can put in the center.
So when you're decorating, you're just working with this piece here. So
Yes.
all of the embellishments go on this.
And then the actual edge is ironed so you can see. So you don't do some fancy work under the edge.
But now in this case,
I sewed it on top.
And she crocheted, you said you crocheted this little doily, we'll call it, and it's actually put on over the top. So it is done a little differently than this one. And this will not have this fancy stitching on it because there really isn't a place for that. So each one's very different.
Yes, and see, this one is the fancy stitching and nothing actually goes under that edge.
Okay.
And then I did this stitch around the outside.
Right. So you could just really use your imagination. And you've brought some samples of things that you work with to kind of develop some of these unique little looks.
You could use scraps like this. You could use a piece like this. You can put it under the edge or a corner. I did these on my embroidery machine.
Oh, well, that's cool. Totally done on her embroidery machine. You can see the little piece of filler in here. And
it's organza that's done on.
So she has quite a setup with embroidery machines, and you do quite a bit of that kind of work. So what a fun way to use some of those unique designs that you come up with for a project like this.
And then this is some lace that I had. It's really not enough lace to put on anything, but it could certainly work on one of these hexagons.
Well, we all have things like this in our sewing box. We think, oh, I might use that someday. Well, this is the someday project. You could use all those little, that's really great.
And then I have some of this. What am I going to use this piece of fabric for? So one of those inside hexagons just fit on here.
Oh, that is so cool.
So I can put this inside, and then the edge will fold over all the way around, and I don't have to do anything to it.
Right, it's already embellished.
Like that. So there are a variety of things that you can do to put in there.
So show us how much of this that you've gotten done thus far. This is rather amazing. So this is how far you've gotten in your project of, let's set it down here and maybe take some out to show a little easier.
Take this out here. And so these are all put together.
So are these backs?
They're backs and fronts.
So you've matched up the way they're going to be when you do them.
It's totally random.
Okay.
You can see here they're totally different.
Like this. So I love these backs. Look what happens when you...
That's the back.
Oh, there we go. So it's night and day between the top and the back.
Right.
And how fun is that? That's the yin and the yang. So how long do you think it'll take you to get the rest of this project done?
Until I get done.
That's a great answer. A great answer. And along the way, you may come up with some other ways to do it. So Donna has brought a purse today that she has used some of this same process in making this purse. And the book that she got the idea out of is called Crazy Quilt Projects by Jennifer Clausten. And Donna, tell us about this book and some ideas that you got out of the book.
This book has a really nice glossary in it, or stitch dictionary. And it has a variety of stitches, the techniques, and it's really, that's part of the reason why I bought the book.
Oh, even some of the ribbon, using the ribbon for making flowers.
Ribbon, there's beads, there's just all kinds of things in it. And then this is the purse that I got my idea from.
Okay.
And it's similar to hers. I liked the plaid idea, and the plaid that I used was some that I had.
Very similar.
I didn't buy anything to make this purse except the handles.
So where did you get the handles from? A craft store?
On Amazon.
Okay, okay. So here, if you can see, she's got the hexagon and decorated the inside pieces.
But in this case, it's like petals around.
Right.
Instead of just being the narrow strip.
Right, right. So some of the same idea, some wonderful little loopy pieces here. Those are fun to make for people that do embroidery work. The inside, I don't know if you can really see that very well or not, but is really cool inside because this is the back side of the hexagons. So it's all finished off very, very nice inside. And here's the bottom.
Hand sewn together.
Hand sewn together, so no machines on this. Really, really cool. So that's great inspiration to get an idea. That was a picture off of Pinterest that kind of led you down this whole path to do some expanding of the idea and making your own vision out of it. And I think these are terrific. I hope you got some good ideas. This was a very interesting example of how to take an idea, expand it, make it your own, and taking ideas from several different resources and putting them together. So thank you, Donna, for bringing that today. And I hope this encourages the rest of us to think about how we can make something from somebody else's ideas and make them our own. I see nothing wrong with that. I think that's just how we expand our ability, is by learning from one another and tapping into some of our hidden talents that maybe we didn't even know were there. And this is very, very unique. I can't wait to see how she's going to actually put this all together, because she has a lot of work in getting all of this crocheted around. So this will keep her busy for quite some time. Thank you, Donna.
Thank you.